Hi there, this is Mr. Sand, and today I'm going to talk to you about types of molecules. There are four types of molecules that you really need to know about beyond water. And water, remember, is just kind of like that very almost magnetic molecule. So let's talk about lipids to begin with. Lipids are kind of weird, mostly because they don't have features that really distinguish them from other things. So let me give an example. So like if you have, I don't know, let's say a fatty acid that looks like this. This is a chemical drawing of a fatty acid. You've got a whole bunch of C's just like this, just a long chain of C's like this, and then H's on all sides of these carbons. These H's are hydrogens. So this whole thing right here, this whole thing, if I go through the whole process of drawing all of these H's, here we go, we keep on going. It's kind of a drag. Keep on going. That's supposed to be an H, not a 4. All these are H's, H, 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 H. Okay, I need to draw lone pairs over there too. First of all, in chemistry you learn this, but you don't learn this so much in biology. In chemistry you learn that there's a thing called polar and non-polar molecules. And this molecule right here, it actually is polar because there's an N to it over here where it's got an O and there's an O over there that pull electrons towards it. So it makes these very negative. Like this is a very negative end and that's very negative over there. A polar molecule is something where you have an uneven charge, where there's a side that's got more negative charge than another side that has more positive charge. That's over here. This is a polar end to something we call a fatty acid, and I'll just say this is a fatty acid right here. But let me use a different color. I want to highlight this area right here. This area over here. These carbons are being pulled equally and oppositely in all directions. The electrons are pretty much evenly distributed around here, and you can tell because the molecule looks fairly symmetrical. So over here on this end, this side over here, we can say that it's a non-polar region of a molecule. This over here is polar, and that'll be crucial in a second. But it's over here, the non-polar part of this molecule. That's what's really important here, and that's what makes fats very distinguishable from something like I don't know, like a sugar. A sugar is usually a ringed molecule that has carbon and oxygen and hydrogen in it. Here's carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but we've got this long chain of what we call hydrocarbons, which is hydrogens and carbons stuck together in a long chain. This region over here gives fats its special qualities. It gives it the qualities of being a great insulator. It gives it a quality of being a good a good energy reserve, because each one of these carbons and hydrogens, they have to be oxidized, meaning oxygen comes in. And to do that, you gain more energy molecules eventually. This is kind of like a bunch of sugars kind of stripped of their guts and packed together. That's kind of what a fat is. What else? They also allow you to have more water. So, like camels, for example, they have these big humps on their backs. Those humps are mostly made of fat. And that fat is just like this. What these camels do is they use these hydrogens, they combine them with oxygen to make H2O. So it's kind of like a reserve of hydrogen so that the animal can make water really easily. So, anyway, that's a fat, and that's different than something like, I don't know, what do we have? What are fats contrasted with? Carbohydrates. A carbohydrate is like a chain that's wrapped in around itself. So this is a chain that's just a long chain, and now we have something like glucose where you have like, I don't know, carbon and oxygen there. Let's just make this a regular um, carbohydrate, and then we have, let's like this, and it's got H over there, H over here, and then OH over there. This doesn't have anything. That's an H. And let's have an OH right here. For those chemistry students, you notice that I'm writing all the lone pair electrons here too. Let's do this. O, H. And then we get H down there. And then O, H over here. This, and this one has an H as well. Okay, I think that's a full that's a full ring. So when I'm saying ring, I'm really looking at this part right here that I'm making bold. This is what we consider to be the ring. Now it's true that there is a carbon kind of hanging off the edge over here. But what we really talk about when we're talking about glucose, we're talking about, this is glucose by the way. This is glucose, it's a sugar. It's a sugar. It's also known as a carbohydrate. And it's also known as a, in this case, monosaccharide. Okay, lots of names, lots of vocabulary in this section here. Okay, so it's got this ring structure. That's one way to tell it apart from a fatty acid or a lipid. This is also known as a lipid over here. You also notice that it's a sugar, it's a carbohydrate, but the amount of O's and H's around it. This is where it's highly hydrated. There's O's and H's all around it. Look at all these O's and H's. There's an O right there. There's an O. There's all these O's and H's all around these carbons. So it's hydrated. Let's see. What else? I think that's a pretty good explanation of a sugar. Sugars are the primary sources of energy. That's what we burn first before we burn fat in our metabolism. Those two. We can draw the nucleic acid in a second, or we can draw the proteins. But let's just stick with these two real quick. I want to describe something that's kind of cool. It's called a it's called a condensation reaction. It's where you link things together to make larger things. And for a condensation reaction, you're really focusing on an OH region. Let me see right here. An OH region of the molecule. So I'm just going to highlight that right there. And if you put another glucose right next to this, I'm just going to draw the same molecule just right next to it. I'll just draw part of it. Those are the C's. There's the O's. There's the C's. I'm not going to fill it in completely because it's kind of a drag. This one again had the OH right here. This had the H right there. I'm not going to draw all the different side chains on for this glucose that's right next to it, but it's the same molecule. Let's just say it's the same. This one has an OH as well, but it only loses this H right here. It combines with this OH over there. These two combine together, and they create H2O. When they combine together, this oxygen that was formerly bonded to that hydrogen now, this is great. What it does is it bonds to that carbon. So they kind of link together. I'll draw the link right here. So I'm just going to draw part of this molecule. So I'll just draw it like this. And then you have the C right here, which is the same C right there. And then that's linked to an O, which is this O, and then it's the C, which is this C, and the C down here, and the C up there. So I'll just make the rest of this kind of look like a hexagon. Okay, and then obviously it's got the COH up over on this side and the COH up over on this side. But I just wanted to show you, I want to draw attention to this part right here. This link, okay? That's what's happened. When you take two of these together and you split out water, that's called a condensation reaction. Condensation reaction. Water goes out and you make a bond, which means that you can link this carbohydrate to that carbohydrate, or this monosaccharide to that monosaccharide. When you connect two monosaccharides together, you have something we call now a disaccharide. If there's more than two linked together, then they call it a polysaccharide, which can happen. This process can go on, and you can link long chains. Misspelled that, saccharide. There we go. You can make long chains of these sugars, and that's actually what plants do to make their cell wall, and that's what we do if we want to make some storage of our sugars that can be easily accessed. So that's a reaction I want you to pay attention to, definitely. That reaction happens over here with this OH group and a glycerol backbone, which is a different molecule, and I think there's a video that goes through that in the reading. But I just want to show you that condensation reaction. I want to also distinguish between a sugar and a lipid right there. Great. So if we move on now to the other two molecules that I want us to kind of focus on, let me kind of look up what